My name is Javid Iqbal. I'm the chairman of the Institution of Civil Engineers for Staffordshire. I'm going to talk to you today about the Trent and Mersey Canal, which was the HS2 of its day in terms of the economic implications, the cost, the magnitude, the scope and the scale. It involved huge resources that would be effectively dictated by Parliament. One of the main instigators of projects like these, and specifically the Trent and Mersey Canal, was Josiah Wedgewood. Josiah Wedgewood was one of the key innovators in the pottery industry at the time, prior to the canal being built. The problem Josiah had was he had no easy means of expanding his business, or in fact expanding the pottery industry, without transportation. This was an essential part of the whole manufacturing process. It's no good making plates or cups if you can't get them to the end user without damaging products, and to do it quickly and economically. The canals enabled Josiah Wedgewood and also the other local pottery factories, Royal Dalton, Spode, Minton, these factories, to be able to transport all of these goods overseas, and it meant that Stoke thrived. It was designed by James Brinley, a civil engineer local to Staffordshire, who had this vision of connecting the whole of the country using the canal network. The idea was to transport goods and replace the means of transportation at the time, which was effectively horses or donkeys, with barges. So the potential benefits were huge. The civil engineers effectively not just designed this, but they contributed to the construction of it, the build of it. They took into account all the natural obstacles. As you can see, the challenges with building something like this are immense, not just because of the huge length, but also the poor ground that's encountered, the lining material that had to be found, the puddle clay, which was in very short supply, and it required an awful lot of manpower to make it usable, to line the canals with, which then made them waterproof. People like James Brinley, Thomas Telford, these were not what we would define today as a civil engineer. They gained their experience as millwrights, so they would build large mills for corn or other crops, but they applied their engineering, and this is what civil engineers do. They apply what they know to a problem and solve that problem, and this is what these millwrights did. And it was the founding of the institution, effectively. Even though it might not seem like it when you walk up and down the canal, these projects were just as controversial as the modern ones are, like HS2. And today, what you've got is a very quiet, serene place which brings together all the communities. It's created huge kind of environmentally sensitive areas which everyone can enjoy. Sure, you can become a doctor, you can become a lawyer, etc., etc., but civil engineering is one of those professions where you can get employment in any part of the world, in all manner of different arenas. You can build roads, you can build bridges, you can build large buildings, tunnels. All of this is civil engineering. And if you want to make an impact on the future of, without sounding melodramatic about it, the future of civilization or humanity, if you like, civil engineering plays a huge part of that.